So often we hear the phrase, follow me, in our Gospels. Do not be afraid, in so many places. Follow me, in so many others. And this special solemnity of Peter and Paul, well, these are good words to hang on to. Do not be afraid. Follow me. Think about that a little bit. We have, in the Gospels, we have Peter walking with Jesus, sitting at his feet, listening to every word. We don't have Paul doing that. Paul's like a generation later. Okay? He's years later. He was never encountering Jesus. He came after Jesus. But he also hears that word and passes it on. Isn't that interesting? And now here we are, many, many generations later. Peter and Paul followed Jesus, and then others followed them. Not following them, but listening to their words about Jesus. And they in turn passed on to that next generation. And now here we are, some 2,000 years later. Something just to hang on to. But why Peter and Paul? Well, we heard the gospel today. Peter's the one who can answer the question. Who do the people say that I am? He said, you are the Christ. You are the Son of God. Right answer, Peter. In fact, Simon, right answer. You are Peter. You are my rock, upon whom I will build my church. You heard Deacon Mike proclaim all that. Peter, we know, has a place in our hearts. Paul is interesting. Paul is someone who, well, we know he was the persecutor. But Paul was a devout. Paul would say Paul was a devout man who came to listen to the great rabbis of the time. And he had his heart formed. Interestingly, too, unlike Peter, Paul was a Roman citizen. Paul was very much aware, speaker of several languages, aware of the cultural ways of the Mediterranean nations. Paul was ready to be a messenger and a missionary too. Peter to the people in and around Jerusalem. Paul to the Gentile communities. Peter in and around ancient Israel. Paul on the eastern and northern shores of the Mediterranean, traveling everywhere. Isn't that something? The two of them doing that. And when we hear the Acts of the Apostles, we have our four Gospels, and the Acts of the Apostles, which is penned by Luke, the first half of the Acts is about Peter. The second half of the Acts is about Paul. What sometimes people forget was the great controversy of their day. Who are the rightful followers of Jesus? Are they the Jews who heard Jesus right in his day and his time? Or all that talk about going out to all the world? Do we include the Gentiles too? Paul's reaching out to the Gentiles. Peter's caring for the chosen ones, the children of God. They bring them together. That's something else that happens in the Acts of the Apostles. They bring them together. There's that great gathering in Jerusalem where they help the people, resolve their differences and become one in following Jesus. Now, what's that all say to us? Hey, folks, we are people who live at this time and this day, and we're right here. And we think about all the things that Father Jay's done the last few years to bring us together as a network. For generations, I'm sure we thought of ourselves as Catholics who belong to a parish. I belong to St. Patrick's. I belong to Sacred Heart. I belong to Immaculate Conception. But how often has that gotten in our way that has kept us from being one around the table? Think about that a bit. Now, we see how our future is before us. And Father Jay is showing us a way to remind us that we are one people called around one table. We belong to a network. Do we have lots of churches? Sure. We're all one in Christ. Peter and Paul brought together people with differences. What can we do in our day and our time to bring together our communities so that we all hear each other, all walk with each other, all serve one another and leave no one behind? Hey, indeed, if there's something special to take away from our experience of this solemnity of Peter and Paul, it's to remind us that we are all one around the table with Christ. May we see each other as sisters and brothers and look to live and serve and love and forgive and pray and celebrate together. Hey, Peter and Paul have a lot to teach us. They heard from Jesus and the disciples, and then they passed on the word generation by generation. What are we called to do in our day, in our time?